And we have got a special guest for us because, of course, one of the huge news stories of the last 24 hours, really, has been this government U-turn on one of its most controversial policies.
Yes, that was going to be forcing family farms worth over £1 million to pay inheritance tax.
Well, Sir Keir Starmer has now raised that threshold to £2.5 million, halving, they say, the number of farms impacted. But we are joined now by Shadow Environment Secretary Victoria Atkins. So, well, firstly, a happy Christmas Eve to you. Thank you very much for joining us on Christmas Eve. So this is good news.
And a good Merry Christmas to you too. Lovely to see you both.
So this is good news. Are you going to commend this Labour government on something good?
Well, look, I'm welcoming the U-turn. It's a massive U-turn, and it's taken 14 months of pain and anger and distress, as you both know, because you've been out marching with me and the farmers when they've come to Whitehall. But what a high cost that this U-turn has come at. So, yes, we welcome it, but my goodness me, this government has made an absolute mess of this and shouldn't have taken this terrible decision in the first place. It has not only had a terrible impact on the rural economy. We know that business investment has plummeted, business confidence has plummeted, but it's also taken a huge emotional toll, which I know you at GB News covered very sensitively. And families have just been at their wits' end with this government. So to sneak this out as they have done the day before Christmas Eve, I think shows it. Well, it's in line with their general approach to government, which
Victoria,
seems to be
there's some suggestion in the papers, at least, that Keir Starmer, it was these personal messages. It was the farmers talking about mental health and the emotional toll that led him finally to make this decision. Is that your reading of it?
Well, I first raised this last Christmas, where we knew a person had taken their own life because of this tax. And since then, Conservative colleagues and I have been raising these very tragic cases. Indeed, only last Thursday, I read out in parliamentary questions a letter from Mrs. Denton, who is a 90-year-old grandmother, who had a single question for the Prime Minister in her letter, which was, by when should my husband and I die in order to avoid this tax and to stop our children's livelihoods being sold off? Now, the farming minister last week didn't have an answer, but she must have known that this was in the offing. So why didn't the Secretary of State stand up at that point and say, well, actually, we're thinking of U-turning on this? Instead, they've snuck it out the day before Christmas Eve, presumably hoping that people won't notice, it won't get the report and the scrutiny it needs. But of course, you and others are ensuring that it is getting the attention it deserves. And I think it's a real shame that a good decision to U-turn, I give them credit for making that decision.
This interruption is brought to you by ExpressVPN and their massive Christmas deal. Right now, you can get up to 80% off ExpressVPN. Every time you jump online to grab a last-minute gift, there's someone out there trying to grab your card details and passwords. ExpressVPN puts an encrypted shield between you and the cybercriminals, so you can protect your privacy, money, and identity. But hurry, this deal ends on the 26th of December, so scan the QR code or click the link in the description now.
But it's taken far too long and has come at such a high cost.
Yeah, I wonder if this is a sort of city versus countryside dynamic playing out within the Labour Party, because Labour aren't used to having many rural seats. They did gain quite a few in the last election, and that sort of traditional class warfare, as it were, doesn't really work when they come face to face with those people who are going to be, recipients of it.
Well, and let's be honest, our farmers are far more resilient, far more innovative and imaginative than Labour ministers. And they'll be here, we hope, long after this Labour government has gone. So people were fighting for it wasn't just a job. Farming isn't just a job. It is a way of life. There will be farmers who've gone out today with their, babies in prams next to them to look after the livestock or to check on the farm. And it's a way of life. And we understand that. Kemi understands that. I understand that. I represent a one, an incredibly rural and agricultural constituency. But Labour ministers didn't ever seem to understand
Just on that, Victoria, if you don't mind, can I just double-check what Tory party policy on this is now? Because, for example, the front of today's Daily Express, the fight goes on to completely scrap the farm raid. Farmers will fight on following Sir Keir Starmer's climb down on this cruel and immoral inheritance tax raid. So is the Tory party policy, as it currently stands, to scrap it entirely?
We will axe the family farm and the family business tax. We have said this from the very moment of the budget because we understand instinctively that family businesses, the entrepreneurship, the nurturing that goes on, the gift that frankly is being able to run a business and employ someone, we want to encourage that and nurture that. We're seeing the exact opposite from this government, sadly, but we very much understand that, and that's why we will work with farmers. And we have said we've made this solemn promise to them and we will keep it. And this is because we're under new leadership and we want to work with the countryside in order to ensure that it has a bright future. You'll have seen it at the protests, the air of despondency that people have had about this. I want to give farmers a bit of hope for the future. We'll have to wait this government out, but I promise you, we as Conservatives are building the plans for the future. And
another thing that our viewers have been very worried about, of course, is the state of the NHS. Yet more strikes. Of course, there were many strikes under the Conservative government as well. Any advice to Wes Streeting on what he should do?
Look, I was Health Secretary in the run-up to the election, and so I know only too well how these strikes have a terrible impact on other people within the NHS who have to cover for junior resident doctors when they're striking, and of course on patients. So we know already with these strikes under Labour, some 93,000 appointments have been missed. Mr. Streeting used to say to me when I was Health Secretary that I should just roll up my sleeves and get round the table and negotiate.
Yeah.
Well, turns out that doesn't work. If you give these unions giant pay rises without expectations of productivity reform, guess what? They'll come back for more. And what is so worrying is that Labour is making it easier for trade unions to call strikes. So I suspect we're going to see much more of this in the future, which is a very, very grave mistake on their part.
Yeah, it's interesting, like you say there, the rhetoric that Wes Streeting used to have when he was in opposition versus the reality, of course, of being in government. And of course, at this opportunity as well, I think I should just say, obviously our heart goes out to everybody who is in hospital or receiving treatment at this time of year, especially, and for all those people who are working in those kind of jobs, helping to keep people safe and well at Christmas as well. Very finally, Victoria, if you don't mind, what's Christmas Day like in the Atkins household?
It's really lovely and fun but complete mayhem. So I suspect you'll appreciate. Obviously, Father Christmas and his elves do the wrapping of Christmas presents. Thank goodness, because you can imagine that an announcement like yesterday may have stopped Christmas present wrapping. So thank goodness Father Christmas and his elves are looking after that for me.
Oh, well, that's a relief.
Well
that's
done.
a relief.
Yes.
Santa can't control the news agenda.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Well, love the family. Take care. Have a very, very happy Christmas as well, Victoria. And I hope to talk to you again soon. Take care. That's the Shadow Environment Secretary, Victoria Atkins.